that you could transfer a good portion of your conscience into a synthetic body. And what would that mean if we become immortal?
AI is not about automation. AI is about solving problems that humans cannot solve.
Because tokens are very, very expensive. And maybe we can double click on that one, because I think this is going to be the biggest conversation in the coming year. And they're also slow, so generating token also takes time. So why should I spend the time?
The triangle of artificial intelligence, the compute part, the cloud, and the cybersecurity part, because data for us is basically everything. Okay, guys, I prepared a lot of questions, a lot of good questions, and normally most of the people in the street probably wouldn't be able to answer these questions, but I think I gathered just the right crowd to discuss this futuristic view on AI. So I will try to moderate it somehow. I hope you will not be cutting each other. And I will be very happy if you get excited about this discussion, but still, let's keep it civilized. So all of you have very different perspectives on this industry. Some of you are coming from the investor side, some of you coming from the academia, some of you are entrepreneurs, and actually many of you combine all of this. So I think this will be an interesting discussion. I know each one of you has a very, very long and impressive background, so I don't want to mess it up. I welcome you to make a proper introduction with all the important parts that you want to share. I will just start with a short introduction of myself, and then you go one by one, okay? So basically, I'm Boris. I'm a partner in Tachles VC. It's a venture capital fund that invests in early stage startups, primarily from Israel, in the verticals of cybersecurity, cloud infrastructure, and AI infrastructure. So this is me, and I give you the stage. Let's begin with you.
So good to meet you guys, Henrik, Eran, and Boris. To keep it short, think of me as three things: entrepreneur, AI, and investor. As an entrepreneur, I started a number of businesses inside Intel and Qualcomm. I was at Intel for a couple of decades, Qualcomm for a decade, early employee in the internet mobile cloud eras. Number two, think of me as AI. I've become an AI expert of sorts. I've been doing AI for as long as I can remember. Actually, I went to school for AI. It was called Expert Systems at the time. I worked in Expert Systems. I did a bunch of stuff around big data ML. And then over the last few years, I've been intimately involved with Gen AI accelerators, and these kind of things. Of course, today we are all thinking about agentic AI, physical AI, and we'll talk about that. Super intelligence, we'll talk about that. And lastly, think of me as an investor. I started the wireless sector at Intel Capital, invested in few companies there. I was an angel investor, investing up and down the stack in mobile for 4 or 5 years. And over the last 4 or 5 years, I have my own firm, 2468 ventures. I've been investing up and down the stack. Early investor in a couple of chip plays, language models, devices, horizontal infrastructure, and then, of course, applied AI, agentic AI, physical AI. I'm early stage investor. First check, pre-seed, seed. I invest directly on the cap table, and I invest in funds. As of last count, I had 150 direct investments and about 18 fund investments. So I have a good view of what's happening in the AI space up and down the stack from a founder perspective, from a technology perspective, and from a investor perspective. We'll talk more about it. I will pass to Henrik.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Henrik Karlsson. I'm Swedish and I'm currently living part-time in Portugal as well. My first experience with AI was with neural networks when we were building the first high-frequency trading bot in Sweden for forex trading. So that's how we got deeply involved with AI machine learning at that time. And then I moved on to Silicon Valley in 2009, where we were part of one of the world's first Gen AI companies in the Valley. And we've just been, continuing on that path since. And we haven't always been in AI, but I've always been building startups my whole life. And right now, when there is an incredible opportunity with agentic AI and whatnot, I'm more excited than ever. And I'm super happy to see what we can do to increase productivity and I'm deeply involved in all fields of AI basically at the moment, and I'm happy to share my thoughts. So, short summary: I've been very, very early with machine learning. I build startups my whole life. I've been advising startups my whole life, and I'm also a consultant. And I used to invest. Right now, I mostly, invest money where I involve myself. So it's like kind of like venture funding, like a venture fund, like a one-man venture fund. um, so yeah, that's me, and I'm happy to see what we can talk about today, and I'm giving the word over to Eran.
Thanks, guys. Very happy to be here and humbled to be with such personas. So, from my side, I'll take Pankaj phrasing. So, three things, right? So, we share two, so entrepreneur for sure, and AI, I would even put some polishing there. The data part is where, like, I'm obsessed with. And the third one is not an investor, but the third one is, I would say, very curious. You might even label it as a researcher. But I'm natively very passionate about asking questions and understanding how the world is working. On one hand, it may be philosophical, but I really like to take it all the way down to the code, since I need to code that philosophy at some point. And when it comes to AI, started my way. I think wasn't called AI back then at Intel, where I was passionate. I'm also passionate about generating value, business value, because if you manage to generate value, then you get the money to continue and doing the things that are interesting you, if you're also able to generate returns. So back at Intel, first experiment in 2009, we didn't call it AI, we call it analytics automation, where my first attempt to do large scale machine learning, completely by instincts, not thing, but huge success, probably saved hundreds, if not billions of dollars through the years. And what happens in corporate America when you have such success, it's kind of, you get unlimited check to do whatever you want. And I got everything, and I got a lot of development headcount, a lot of freedom, a lot of things to do that. And this is where I started establishing my career around data with my specific I would say, focus point, call it obsession, is the combination of humans and machines. In general, and Boris will take us to an interesting questions later on, but how do you fuse that human strength with the machine strength in order to create the one coherent systems? And I think Pankaj, you call it expert systems. So that's kind of where this passion starts with. And this is what I've been doing since then. Built companies around it, got awarded on technologies I've developed, and doing it again, and hopefully to keep doing it well and enjoying it as well.
Thank you. I have another warm-up question. What was your personal aha moment with AI? Each one comes from a different place, so I'm just curious to know how it was for each and every one of you. Whoever is ready, just start answering, and we'll then switch.
I think that question should be divided into questions like past and present, because a lot happened recently, and maybe what we felt 15 years ago is a little bit different than now. But yeah, sure.
Feel free to split it into two questions.
Okay, maybe Eran can start.
Yeah, of course. I think my the biggest aha moment that I had was, I think it was around 2015 or 16. Doing it for some years, but didn't kind of able to, what is AI? And I think that aha moment was, and don't get upset with me, there is no AI. Or in other words, just saying it may be a bit, but there is no such thing as artificial intelligence. In order to define artificial intelligence, you first need to define what intelligence is. And I don't want to go too philosophical here, but whatever intelligence is, and if you want Boris as moderator, feel free to go that path later on. But whatever intelligence is, it doesn't exist in Turing machines. It doesn't exist in microprocessors. What does exist? And that was my aha moment. So what is it? If it's not intelligence, what is it? And that aha moment says that we, for 60 years or 70 years, we developed the software industry where we actually developed logic, data processing logic, using software. What we call AI, call it machine learning, call it AI, call it whatever you want, is that we actually learn how to program, not by code, but by examples. So we have a very simple equation of input plus logic equals output. So we haven't changed that equation. The only difference is that we used to develop the logic, get the input and output and develop the logic. Now we develop the input and output pairs and the logic writes itself, but we still have to invest on the other two sides of the equation. So we didn't change the equation. We changed the parts in which we invested in order to sustain that equation. That brought me to understanding that AI is essentially a data development effort. If we talk about traditional software as programming, as software development, as code development, AI, essentially building models, is essentially a data development process. This is the entire concept I established data loop on. And if you start taking this specific thing, start asking, wait a minute, so if this is a data development process, who are the developers? The developers are not the machine learning expert. They're not Mark Zuckerberg is paying 100 million to them. Don't get me wrong, machine learning algorithms are super important, but the data developers are the one who are actually making the input and output pairs. If you take an image of an X-ray and you put a label, leg is broken or not, whoever generated that pair, that nice clean pair, is the data developer. In this case, the data developer infuses their own knowledge into the data. In other words, that doctor look at the bone structure and decide whether this bone structure is labeled as broken or not, or maybe you can have several types of, right? You can go very deep And I've developed thousands of data sets like that. So I'm very familiar with the process. So AI is a data development process. That was my aha moment. And I have to say that in the last year and a half or two, or last 3 years, it was very confusing to me. Because if that's correct, so everybody's using the pre-made models and the models get improved. So the entire development process was done by OpenAI or Anthropic, but we are getting to see that now that paradigm's getting to start become dominant again and again and again. So I hope it makes sense.
So I have two thoughts. One, to build on what you said, Eran. Eran, where are you located?
In Israel.
Israel. Okay. AI is the triangle. AI is compute. AI is algorithm, and AI is data. And couple months ago, Prime Minister Modi of India, he said, he was doing some interview, and he said, AI is this three-legged stool. Everybody basically is using the same compute. NVIDIA today, maybe others in the future. Because data is so important, and India became the most populous country in the world, and India has gazillions of data, around the population, around languages, around culture, around all sorts of things. So that's a national treasure. And he said, it makes no sense for India to export that national treasure to Silicon Valley, train it on OpenAI LLM there, import it back. Why would I do that? And lo and behold, we talk a lot about OpenAI and Google and Meta and Anthropic and so on and so forth. In the US, there are about 1,000 language models today. In India, there are 75 language models. In Saudi Arabia, there are lots of language models around Arabic and so on. In China, there are lots of language models. I don't know the exact count, but in Israel, but given the number of startups coming from Israel, I bet there are a lot of language models, right? It's not just data, it's the combination. Data is integral. Data goes hand in hand with the language model you're using to train, whether it is domain specific or general purpose or sovereign AI. And of course, you cannot do that without compute. So just some food for thought. We can come back to it. I think my aha is, the mobile phone is more than 40 years old. I'm neighbors to Marty Cooper here in San Diego, and he made the first phone call in 1973. The internet is more than 30 years old. IP was formalized in 83. The first browsers came out in 94, 95. Cloud is more than 20 years old. AWS was created in the early 2000s, right? AI is older than all three of those technologies. AI is maybe 75 years old. If we go back to history, the first algorithms were written in 1951, 52. And the term AI was actually coined for a conference in Massachusetts in 1956. So AI is not new. In some ways, mobile, internet, cloud, they built on top of each other. And now AI is building on top of that. What ChatGPT is doing, ChatGPT and successors, what they are doing is taking us from a hidden, invisible storm to everyday use. We have been using Google, Google search. We have been searching for movies on Netflix. We have been using one-click on Amazon. We have been using Uber. We have been using TikTok for much longer than ChatGPT coming about. And we have been using machine learning, big data. Most consumers did not think of it as AI. So it was invisible to the day-to-day consumer. But absolutely, the storm has been brewing. And now ChatGPT has given us the browser moment, the iPhone moment, the AWS moment. It has made it accessible to everyone. The reason it is growing faster than anything before it is because it is building on top of previous technologies, right? The reason there is so much excitement about AI is, unlike internet, mobile, cloud, which were primarily tech sector phenomena. Yeah, internet impacted how we do retail, and mobile impacted how we do many things. But big picture, they were internet technology trend first, and then impacted a few verticals. AI is not just a technology trend. It is impacting every sector, every region, every human. And the possibilities are unprecedented, astronomical. We'll talk about that. But the big aha is AI is not new. AI has been around. AI has been there longer than these technologies. AI has had a lot of progress in the research space, in the academia space, in the commercial space. Now we are paying attention. Anyway, we'll come back to it. I'll hand it to Henrik.
Very good summary, Pankaj. Very hard to build on top of that, but I'm just gonna go very short here. And I mean, my biggest aha moment was, in the early days when we could see that machine learning could make really fast decision based on extremely big data sets. So we call it intelligent reasoning in milliseconds back then. I mean, it was incredible, and also that it could learn and improve in various ways. So that was my aha moment, when I could see that, okay, that was back in 2007 between 2009, where I can see, okay, this technology is just gonna skyrocket from here. And it took longer than I expected, but my current aha moment is now when AI can go beyond human boundaries. Because back in the days, it was our data, it was our algos, it was our mathematics, it was our language. But now it can create its own mathematics. It can, bots can just talk in their own language. And my modern day aha moment is when AI is breaking out of the human box. I think that is very important and a very big step towards the next frontier in AI. And yeah, I guess these two aha moments really impacted me a lot.
So Henrik,
And
just so we understand what you're saying, when you say breaking out of the human, is, let's say, autonomous driving. Would that be a good example of that?
I would say, for example, like OpenAI's Q Star, when the rumor was that they could decipher an encryption based on thinking that didn't really use human mathematics. For example, when Llama, like Facebook back then, they discovered that their bots invented their own language, which was far more efficient at communicating than anything else before. And these things that we see that the machines are giving us new insights or evolving themselves. I mean, for me, that would be the real breakthrough with AI, when it can go beyond our current thinking, go beyond all the intelligence and data that we have gathered over the last centuries, and just transcend. And we had a good discussion with some other fellows in the industry, where AI sees patterns more than, it doesn't really understand that 2 + 2 is 4. It just forms idea around these patterns, and it's a different animal. And I'm really excited what we can see when we let AI a bit loose. It's dangerous, but like in controlled forms. I think the next frontier will be when AI will evolve itself, which is, I mean, it's already doing it, but like if it can go beyond uh, the human paradigms.
Thank you. Great answers. And while answering, you're actually touching on some other questions that I'm planning to ask. So one of those questions was when you were describing the evolution of AI, and basically that it builds upon previous progress in different domains, and it builds on top of it, but it also disrupts. It also changes the way things work. And my question is about traditional SaaS. What do you think? What, in your opinion, will happen to traditional SaaS in an AI native world?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I think his question is based on that. There's been a big discussion in the last 2 years that a lot of SaaS companies will die in favor of AI productivity tools, which, I mean, is the case. But I think we will still see monthly payments, or it will be maybe more dynamic fees, I guess, than fixed fees. I think moving forward in some productivity tools. So yeah, I mean, SaaS is definitely not dead. It's just taking a new form. And if you have an old SaaS company which is not AI agentic, I mean, you will probably die or fail, or lose a lot of money. So, but I think there is a lot of SaaS companies which serve traditional industries, which will of course outlive a lot of automation and progress in AI. But I think SaaS is here to stay, but it will take a new form. And there is a lot of discussions now with the AI agentic economy, where bots will be able to buy data cheap from various sources, and buy compute, and package together more dynamic pricing. So I think we're going towards a more dynamic pricing model over time here than just, okay, you pay $50 a month. I think we will see more dynamic pricing as the technology evolves. And that would be, if that's monthly payments or pay per use, I don't know. Like, it's maybe somebody else can answer that better.
I'll take the other view, Henry. It's good to have some controversy. Um, um, SaaS is dead. SaaS will be dead.
Yeah.
We'll
You
have a
said
new
dead,
paradigm.
Pankaj?
Sorry?
You said dead?
Yeah. There will be a new paradigm that I'll describe. But maybe an analogy. Before the iPhone, phones had keyboards, right? And if the only thing that had happened was going from a physical keyboard to a digital keyboard, that would have been evolution. But with multi-touch and touch, the UI paradigm changed, and the keyboard is dead. That does not mean some people don't have phones with physical keyboards. They do. That does not mean some people don't use keyboards in like digital format on their phones. They do. I do. But when the focus shifts to touch and now increasingly voice, then innovation stops on the keyboard and innovation happens in other places. I think of SaaS in the same context. And the example I will use is, SaaS has been around for 15 years. If you add up the market cap of all the SaaS companies, it's about $1 trillion. So we can say out of 125 trillion global economy, SaaS market cap is about $1 trillion. Now, let me take us a couple steps forward. Physical AI. Machines and AI replacing human labor. When I look at that market, it's about 15 to 20 trillion dollars. This is the research that McKinsey and BCG have done. The TAM for robots and humanoids to replace human labor in construction, in mining, in healthcare, in basically across all the sectors is 15 to 20 trillion dollars. If 5% of that converts, it will be as big as SaaS. When I look at that number, where do you think the innovation will happen? It will stop in how we think about SaaS, and we will go to where the puck is going, right? So that's a big picture way I think about SaaS is about the past. AI is about the future. And AI, we are mixing generative AI, agentic AI, and over time, physical AI. But the micro answer is instead of buying software, companies have begun to write their own apps, write their own software. So that's trend number one. That goes against paying a sales force something to rent or lease software. Look at the rise of Lovable and Cursor and Replit and Windsurf and so on. It's crazy. These things have started in the consumer space. They're going to enterprise. Number one. Number two, SaaS is you buy X number of copies, you pay for those copies per month or whatever. And many of those copies don't get used. With AI, we'll move to outcome-based. If you look at, Sierra, for example, Brett Taylor's company around customer service, his customers are paying based on outcome, not based on usage. That will change. And number three, we'll talk more about Agentic AI. But when we think about Agentic AI, I think of 4As. The piece of software has agency on my behalf. It is taking actions on my behalf. It is adapting to the context, and it is doing it autonomously. When we think of SaaS, we don't think of SaaS software as any of those 4As, right? There's always a human that is giving it commands on what to do. So the bold statement is SaaS as we know it is dead. AI is replacing it. You know, the world where I come from, in Silicon Valley, investors have stopped investing in SaaS. If you look at the pace of revenue, in early stage, we used to go from 0 to 1 million and 1 million to 5 million, and 5 million to 10 million over multiple years. Now we are going from 0 to 100 million in less than a year. Modulo, lovable.
But can I
That's
just
how
stop
I
you
think
there?
about it.
Because like you define SaaS as software as a service. I mean, that was the early models, but like now we also have services, which I mean, it's way more difficult to replace because I can build an AI agent which I can rent. And like the future scenarios, like we're talking about like composability, where software will build on top of software, you will still have like a stream of income going down. So will that be, dynamic pricing? Would that be like a subscription? I mean, of course, software as a service will be replaced by, he had a good example about Lovable and these companies which can auto-generate software in seconds and minutes or hours. But like the thing is that I thought the same as you 1.5 years ago, that SaaS is dead. I told that to investors, but it takes time. Still, I can produce AI companies that will beat any type of auto-generated software, and I think that would be the case for the coming years, depending on complexity and what you can offer. So, I mean, SaaS, that's what I told. SaaS is not dead, it's shifting. And like, to sell compute, I mean, how can cloud service provider like Amazon, I mean, they have service as a service. They're selling cloud, they're selling hosting, they're selling,
This
whatever.
is
Yeah.
a good segue to my take on the matter, Henrik. And
Yeah.
I think you guys are both touching very accurate, and I really like Pankaj. I'm taking the keyboard iPhone thing because I think
Yeah.
it's amazing one I'm taking to the road. If you
I
think
just
about
want I just wanted to conclude, sorry to interrupt you. So short term, it would be a hybrid, but long term, like Pankaj, 100% that you can generate everything. The interface could auto generate whatever you want for you. So that's the longer perspective. But like the coming 5 years, the coming 3 years, it takes time.
I'm doing some work in healthcare, and many hospitals have IBM mainframes. So I think you and I might be getting too technical. For all practical purposes, mainframes are dead, right? That does not mean zero people are using it. So of course, technology has transitions, but when I say SaaS is dead, I mean, where is the innovation happening? Where is the investment happening? These kind of things. So of course, SaaS will stay for a long time. Salesforce is not going out of business. But I think if we take that perspective, we can debate more. But let's go to Eran.
Yeah, guys, it's gaining excitement. This topic, I see that like you all are eager to to answer and debate. We will get back to the agentic AI part of the discussion. Let's just hear Eran's opinion on SaaS, and we'll continue.
Yeah, so I think Boris, you touched a huge topic, and all the answers are correct. The answer of SaaS will live is correct, and the answer that SaaS is dead is correct. And what does that mean? Because it's so broad. SaaS is distribution model for software. So SaaS by itself. So what are we asking? Is software development dead? Are we asking is the distribution model itself is dead? Essentially, we can look at SaaS as three big parts, right? SaaS has three big parts. The first part is the UI UX layer. I'm giving you convenient UI UX layer to do something. The second part of SaaS is that I provide you some data processing capabilities to do with that. And the third part of SaaS is that I'm giving you the database or the persistent storage in order to keep your records and data as time goes by. Now, these are three different parts. If we take a look on SaaS itself, managing databases and managing records, it's a very complicated thing, especially on enterprise environments, etc. So a lot of these type of capabilities will have enhanced by AI, but they're not going to be replaced by AI. If you go take a look on Snowflake, or you can go take a look on even database providers, right? They are data machines. If you go to the SaaS, if you go to SaaS applications that the whole, I would say, news to the world was, here is a great UX, so you eiffel something, done, gone. And this, I will double click on that one. If you think about what SaaS was or SaaS is, let me take some area, let's call it CRM, for example, and now I'll go to all the people who need CRM, and I will collect the requirements, and I will start arranging them in menus and tabs and submenus and submenus. And essentially, if you go to the average CRM, if you go to the average Salesforce users, the average Salesforce users don't use more than 3% of Salesforce. And that's correct for 100% of the users. Essentially, Salesforce is an assemble of all the requirements CRM folks had in the last, I don't know, 30 years. And we divided them into menus and submenus according to your role and your need. And even that was not enough. So you need Salesforce adapters and Salesforce deployers and training and courses and what's not. That is dead. In other words, if I need now an interface to do something on my business management or my CRM management, I will have an application that was spawned by me or that goes, Pankaj, to the enterprise lovable thing, which is, by the way, what this area that Langware is playing with. That means that me or my friend will generate a use case for our specific use case and need in our company. Now, when it comes to the records themselves, maybe they're still going to be Salesforce. But Salesforce now has to start pricing itself as a database rather than a software or a database system. And they're not ready for that. For example, I'll give you an example online. I looked at HubSpot. I said, okay, I need a CRM. We're now just launching our go-to-market. I need a CRM. I looked at HubSpot. I started doing data processing, and at some point I started there charging by, I think was marketing contact. And I said, hey guys, we're in the AI era. I'm going to process hundreds or millions of records. You don't really expect me to pay you $200,000 just because I'm processing. What's your business with how many records I'm processing? I just need you to manage these records. But they're built for the era where every account is like a craftsmanship, and 10,000 contacts, managing 10,000 contacts in a CRM sounds like a lot. For me, it sounds like a 2 hours processing or a 2 days processing. Okay, and next 2 days I'm going to have 10,000 more, and by the way, HubSpot, it's none of your business how many I'm processing. So I think that you have to break down this question. And if we go to other providers like Twilio are not sending me UX. They're sending me access to send SMS or answering calls all over the world. So their value cannot be replaced by AI. And if tomorrow you will get answer, you will put in ChatGPT your finance information to calculate taxes, But then you'll have a small button and somebody who's doing MCP and saying, validate your taxes using ChatGPT, like you did that already. So validate your taxes with real accountant because you do need accountant validation. Now, ChatGPT did everything, but that person is still reviewing and still signing. And the service or the MCP or the SaaS or whatever you want to call that data processing logic, whatever you want to call them, they manage to put the accountant on their system, make sure that the work is flowing, train them, make sure they have some legal legibility, which they transfer legally to their accountant. So in other words, the value is not some UX and it's not the record. It's the entire process that they automated. Okay, the entire call it workflow or service. So I think that SaaS in general, if we talk about the 100 millions menu collectors, dead and gone. If we're talking about business processing logic, I think it's still valid more than ever because now we can automate 100x of what we used to automate. So what I gave you now with the taxes, probably you can think about 200x more businesses like that will be served as a SaaS MCP something. Like they will have to be distributed some way. Maybe SaaS will be that. I'm not sure. And when it comes to the system of records, the existing SaaS player will either have to adjust, let's call it their role, their business model as, let's call it databases, and databases cannot charge, they are charging 100x their pricing, let's put it that way. They need to take down the charging of the records 100x, or they will be killed. They will be killed by, let's call them let's take Salesforce, they will kill by the cheap Salesforce that are saying, listen, dude, I put everything on Snowflake, Amazon S3, AI will manage the whole thing. Don't worry, the data is secured. We're making sure that the data is secured. But you're paying us $100 to 1,000,000 records, which is 10,000x cheaper. It's not 50%, it's 10,000x cheaper. Now go deal with that, Salesforce. I hope it gives you my way of looking at things.
And yeah, that's a great explanation, and that's how I wanted to conclude that, traditional software startups where you build a software and hope somebody will buy it are dead. But like if you take a startup that would hyper specialize on a topic and train data, and training data is still complex, and a lot of companies are gatekeeping data. So you need to go and negotiate, you need to go and buy data and compete and all that. And also like all the companies, like you said, Twilio, which is gatekeeping these services to infrastructure, which AI cannot build anymore. And I mean, I am building AI agentic software, and still have to pay Twilio. We can't get around it, and that's how some of these companies will survive. And from traditional software startups to hyper specialized, hyper trained models and companies, and I mean, of course, I mean, a lot of companies can also like be independent of how you produce software. I mean, it could be an API to ChatGPT or Lovable or whatever that could auto-generate a custom interface for a custom client. But I think the gateways to data and infrastructure is where we will see a lot of SaaS companies surviving and actually making a lot of money. Because AI, I mean, if it can pay a company to finish its end result faster, it will at reasonable cost. So, I mean, AI is always trying to take the shortest route to the path, right? So if you can, bundle together different APIs and like we discussed earlier, composability of software, it will do that. Pay a little license fee to a company, gatekeeping that kind of layer one software, it will definitely pay a trickle fee just to produce its end results like 100 times faster or whatever. So yeah, that's my summary of my thoughts.
Let's guys move to the next topic. Back in 2024, last year, I wanted to buy a domain, Agentic. It was already taken. It was already expensive because for people in the industry, it was kind of clear where everything is headed. And we have models. We have the since quite some time good decent models. But it was clear that without some autonomous execution, it's not enough. But when you take a model and you add execution to it, what you get an agent, right? And I will combine two questions, and you can basically discuss broadly about the topic. So the questions are like this. First, I can see in the market already a lot of different agents. They're doing vertical functions so far. They're specialized at something, and the market is becoming more and more fragmented. So first part of the question is, given this fragmentation of AI agents in the market, how would a client choose wisely and which of the agents to employ? The second part of the question is, in your view, what does the ideal user experience for an AI agent looks like 5 years from now? I know, Henrik, that we discussed before, like your vision of a marketplace. So I would like to start with your opinion on this subject.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, you could already look at the work Microsoft has been doing with their AI agents, and already early this year, or was it last year, that they made a model where AI agents can produce their own AI agents, which, in my opinion, was a great breakthrough with AI agents. So, for example, if I'm trying to build a structure, and they see, okay, I can add efficiency or improve, the whole structure of this program, it will just auto-enable a new AI agent. So basically, AI agents creating new AI agents. That's we will see more of that, and that means, maybe some of the big companies, it could be whoever provides, the best agentic models. I think most of them will go towards this equilibrium of that the users don't have to decide. It would kind of auto-adapt after different needs. And I'm super passionate about that, self-organizing systems. And that's, a big thing we're doing now, and talking about the future of startups. That's what I talked to you about, Boris. And I think we will see a lot of innovation coming through open source. So open source is like open models, combining, open source with blockchain or whatever, that could distribute both innovation and different software and compute assets, where people can start whatever they want with zero amounts of money, and really utilize composability and have the help of AI agents to produce outcomes. And I think humans could gather in small groups and still produce amazing income models with the help of AI, and faster and more innovative than ever before. So just to summarize my rambling here, I think these decentralized open source models, big ecosystems will play a key will be a key thing for how innovation is moving forward. And again, composability, where different companies can sell some core of their innovation to this even open source model and earn an income stream where everybody can build faster. And if you can unlock the whole, gate kept innovation library of tech companies and humanity, and if the AI can access that, we're unlocking, human potential in terms of innovation in a whole different level. Because right now, when everybody's trying to innovate, I mean, of course, you can get a lot of things way faster than you could, 10 15 years ago, when we had to invent the wheel every time we build a software. But it's still gate kept, and I think if corporations and open source can collaborate via licensing, kind of like income stream model, I see a big future in that, and I can go into more in details later during discussions here about that.
Thank you. Who wants to take it?
So I'll take it from here. I first again very agree with what Henrik was saying, and I think that there is a big open question that says like, if we think about the future, we can easily envision a future where we just walk around the world and we say things and the world listen to us and things just happen, and there is some kind of utopia around us where agents is running around and making sure we're happy and satisfied. The question is how much AI is going to be reliable. We don't know that. If you take a look on transformer-based generative models, the progress was quite amazing. Initially, that's what I said, like things were a bit confusing in the last 2 to 3 years because there were like very big leaps. And you're saying, wait a minute, wait for 6 months and everything will be solved and we could, restart the whole what's next discussion. Now it stops. We got AI by itself, the developing models, a diminishing return process. We got into diminishing return process of transformers until we get the next architecture. God knows when that will be, right? But it's currently there is none. We know that currently there is none, and we should keep in mind that it is always take about 4 to 5 years between the architecture is actually being out there to the time it's actually being manifested in industry, right? So Transformers 2017, but until so it doesn't, but until I think the attention is only needed is 2017 or 18. But until you got actually the ChatGPT moment, which took like 5, 6 years, the first neural networks for Google 2008, you can argue AlexNet was the first moment, let's not argue, but around that area, a few years of that area. But neural networks actually sparked into markets around 2016, 17. So there is like, even if the architecture is there, it takes some time for the market to start adopting it. So long story short, the AI as we have it here, or the capabilities of transformers as it is today, it's already, I would say, blocked or very slowing down. And what happens going forward is that you will start seeing specializations around modeling. And that specializations will happen for two big reasons. The first one is accuracy, right? If you have a model that knows how to analyze cancer cells, it doesn't need to write poetry. There are like information wasted there. It actually increases the error rate of the cancer because it needs to also to know how to do poetry. And the second good reason is performance, both on cost, because tokens are very, very expensive. And maybe we can double click on that one because I think this is going to be the biggest conversation in the coming year. And they're also slow. So generating token also takes time. So why should I spend the time as user wait for big model where smaller model will give better answer, faster and cheaper? If that is correct, that means that we're going to have a lot of models out there, and somebody needs to pack these models, going back to the previous question, as kind of a solutions, call them SaaS. SaaS is actually going to be an operator, a UX that knows how to operate a bunch of models, because nobody is going to, as a user, you're not going to operate 20 models according to the right case. And you could see that ChatGPT 5, that's the big news of ChatGPT 5. It's not like a better model. It's like, forget all the big list of models, we'll just take care of that for you. So the question on agents is actually, where do you believe this packaging of agent and quality of agent can be done, and how much generic? So can they be done in a single device like phone and my phone, or like phone, and that's going to do everything? If just by listening to everything I'm saying or doing, or even looking at or typing a bit in that device, if that's enough, then the answer is yes. But if we're talking about the future of my life will be managed by 10,000 models aggregated to 50 groups of 200, right? 200 models in 50 products or 20 products. So something that a human being can can carry, then we're talking about much more diverse future. And of course, we have competition. My PC is Mac, but I'm on Samsung, and maybe my car is Tesla, right? So how does so I think it's very hard to say at this point. I would, if I have to guess, I would assume that you will get a lot from the operating system, whatever that will be. It's a very complete discussion. What is the operating system in the AI? But you'll get 80% from the operating system. You'll probably have 20-ish more things, like the amount of things that the normal human being can handle, 20 more providers or things around you that also give you these agentic capabilities. And that's probably would be it, right?
And,
Maybe
and speaking, just adding on to your comments here, and speaking with Microsoft, I mean, they said the future of the OS is an agentic web, where right now, like what I try to say, we're moving away from narrow tools, I mean AI agents, to more autonomous collaborative systems where individuals, teams, and organizations can extract whatever they need. So I mean, you don't need the poetry like you said when you're doing medical research, but it will still be these autonomous collaborative systems which will serve most of individuals and
but the
organizations.
question is, Henrik, but the question is, do you trust those autonomous collaborative things to do things for you? Would you trust
Yeah.
them? Would you
But
trust your money?
that's why I brought up these open source models, because you will have the corporations, and then you will have the decentralized open source systems as well. I mean, they will be very important, to the agentic web, and also to these agent networks. So you will see both corporate players and the open source models, and I believe that when AGI hits, which everybody is talking about, like of course maybe OpenAI or Google will be first with it, but like I think that the open source community will receive it fairly fast as well, and instead of being gate kept by a few companies, it will also be more available, and I'm involved in a project doing just that, and we're very passionate about bringing AGI to the everyday human in a fair way, instead of whatever big corporation is gatekeeping it and just selling it to Fortune 500 for the first years. I think these advancements in AI should be available to anybody, and it will be, because innovation and the internet is always seeking an equilibrium. You cannot fight it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I totally agree with that line of thinking. The only question I have is that, like, where you need trust, like where do you would you tell AI, would you trust AI to handle your kid's disease or your own disease, or would you go to a doctor no matter how, like, the AI at some point there is like some human needs or human behavior that is beyond
Mm.
plain logic, right? Or beyond, even if I tell you, by the way, that AI is less
Yeah.
wrong than doctors, whatever, I said, okay, go to get them both.
Yeah. And there is a question again of who are you? Are you an organization? Then of course maybe you can work with OpenAI. Maybe you don't care. Are you a private individual? Are you a family? Maybe you will choose the open source network. So I mean, you will have choices, and it will be different for enterprise and you as individual, I think, and that's why I think both corporations and open source can coexist. And when I'm talking about open source, it's mainly these networks which cannot be owned by anybody. It's like Bitcoin, it's just there. It's a system in the ether. Nobody can own it. Nobody can invest in it. Nobody can control it. And that's how you create trust.
Um, I think security and privacy and trust is important. I'll come back to it. Okay. First, agents. Kind of the framework I would encourage you guys to think about is, the browser happened with the PC. And after the early days, there was one internet, one set of websites built on some core technologies, HTML and HTTPS and different codecs and DRM and this and that. And you could use that internet or that World Wide Web on any device. Apps happened with mobile. And even today, we have multiple app stores. We think about iPhone, Apple, and Android. But there's another one in Europe, and there are a few of them in China, and so on. And so the App Store is basically structured around the device you have. For the web, you go to some place. If you know where you want to go to, you can get there. For the app, my smartphone has 100,000 apps. I exaggerate. They generally don't talk to each other. I go to the app, I open it, blah, blah. When we think about agents, there's a word you used, Eran, 20 minutes ago. Personalization. Agents fundamentally start with the use case. It could be personal use case or in the enterprise. There is no such thing as enterprise, by the way. There are legal companies and construction companies and manufacturing companies and so on. Okay. So there are lots and lots of use cases and lots of users. And when we think about the agent, I think about use case of one, personalized for me, based on my data, based on my context, based on my behavior, based on what I like, don't like, etc. And when you think like that, by the way, examples of personalized medicine and personalized learning and so on, we can get to that. But when I think like that, of course, I'm going to have many, many agents. Of course, the world will have many, many agents. So I don't think the question is which agent will succeed. I don't think the question is open source versus closed source, because based on what I want, I have agent builders, and Microsoft has one, LangChain has one, lots of people will have one. Of course, for agent builders, you need the right layers of the stack below it, the right memory, the right logic, the right compute, etc. But I think the fundamental difference, as you think about going from a browser-based to an app-based to an agent-based, is we are going to the user. We are going to personalization. All of these agents will be based on the use case I want to execute. So I think we literally have to put this upside down. Normally, we think about technology first and hardware first and then software second and whatever. Here we have to put user first. Now, related to that, Eran, is your question on can we trust it? Short answer, yes. Longer answer, humans, we adapt. And anytime the benefit is greater than cost, over time we trust it. you know, we fly a lot. We give our frequent flyer number. The benefit is we get a free ticket or something. The cost is we are giving away our privacy. Anytime I use my credit card, same thing. Anytime I go to Facebook, same thing. Trust and privacy and security in the agent context is not any different. Um, it is more valuable because it is about me. It is about my data, etc. But just like I do financial transactions on my phone, I'm going to do transactions with my agents. And over time, you know, agent is not an interface between me and the bank. Agents will talk to more agents to do the things I want get done, how I want get done. So I think we can go to all the technical nuances, but fundamentally, we need to put personalization and use case first, and that will lead to different decisions. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
What you're saying is so important, and I mean, that is where I will put all my time and money this fall, and this is already being solved by the industry, and it's called AI avatar. So each person here will have your personal AI avatar, which is of course composed of AI agents, but like it will safeguard your data in your private data vault, and other AI agents, they will not be able to fetch all of your data. They will just ask, okay, what is this person thinking about? Like, so your data will be guarded by your AI avatar, and then different AI agents will talk to your avatar, and that's how the future will look like. That your persona, your data is for you, and that's how you safeguard your data against the agentic web. Corporations will have it, private individuals will have it. I've been pioneering some of the research in that field the last 9 months and year, and we're actually launching a product hopefully before the end of the year about this. And again, what you said, that apps are kind of like shifting, and that is exactly what I meant with the agentic web, that we will see like specialized AI agents like nodes instead of apps that will collaborate. And if that's Microsoft, is that OpenAI, is that an open source agent, it doesn't matter. The AI doesn't care really. So I think it would be a race who can serve the agentic web best with their hyper specialized AI agents. Because if Eran has the best, I don't know, med tech, super niche AI agent, I mean, of course, everybody will buy it from him, because it will take so long to train the data, to build the relationships with I mean, all the sources he got his data from and all that, and yeah, nodes for specialized AI agents collaborating under an AI web. Is it a platform? Is it a web for everybody? Like, we don't know yet. AI avatars, which is like a data clone of you that will help you with productivity, take your phone calls, whatever. That is how your data will be safeguarded in personal data vaults. And we're talking about proof of stake. So if I want to fetch Eran's passport, you don't need to like upload it to a shady site anymore. It can be like, okay, my AI avatar says to the other bot that Eran actually has a passport, it's him, done. And then it's over. So you don't need to send sensitive data anymore. It will just be a kind of proof of stake way of bots interacting. And this is also going to be the future of marketing, where as now maybe like a big corporation knows too much information about Eran. maybe in a few years, the AI bot will talk to, Amazon's AI bot to say, Eran is really interested in, blue bikes, blah, blah, blah. And he will get, hyper specialized ads for these bikes instead of, acquiring his entire data set. So like micro sharing, relevant data snippets, proof of stake, AI avatars. That's how we protect privacy in the AI agentic world, which is gradually evolving here.
Yeah. Just one more thought. I described AI as the triangle: compute, language model, and data. Right. That's true in the context of agents. Data. We are going from public data to private data, my data, personal data. Compute, we are going from training in the cloud, inference in the cloud, to training in the cloud, inference on the edge. And then in the future, training on the edge, inference on the edge. So Eran, if I'm training my model with my data on my phone, there is inherently greater security, greater trust, greater privacy. And then on language model, today when we say language model, LLM, we generally mean it's general purpose, trained on general purpose data like internet data, Reddit data, etc. We have already gone to DLM, domain specific language model. There are multiple DLMs in healthcare, in finance, in legal, in marketing, etc., etc. I think where we are going is PLM, personal language model, running on my device, trained on private data. And just finish it off, Eran, you had a very good example earlier, which is, in CRM, you have all this menu structure, and some company designed all this menu structure, and I use only 3% of it. When you think about this triangle, my PLM, personal language model, can only focus on my use cases. So if I only care about English to Hindi and English to French translation, I don't need to have it trained on Japanese and Korean and everything else, right? So I think agent is kind of a manifestation of it, but it's all
AI agents is just
personalized.
like a tool. Basically a node, and it's all about connecting the whole. And actually, I'm working on PLMs this year with a company called Ultra.ai. Happy to share our progress, and we're gonna do the PLMs with the AI avatars and just connect it to a vaster network to serve you as a human or a corporation or whatever.
Guys, I have so many questions, and I see that we're approaching the 90 minutes barrier. So I will try to combine maybe some questions so that we can cover the most interesting topics and finish with something very futuristic and visionary. Just to wrap up the previous topic, this triangle that you Pankaj mentioned, we have it also in our fund, but it's a little different. We in our fund we focus on the triangle of artificial intelligence, the compute part, the cloud, and the cybersecurity part, because data for us is basically everything. If anything, it would add a fourth dimension for us. But I'm really glad to see that we are aligned in this vision, and we understand how this is a self-propelling mechanism. Henrik, you touched on these avatars. Like one of my questions was basically, what do you think would be the headlines in 2026? Like what's the next thing? So you partially mentioned this trend, and you, Pankaj, talked about PLMs, the personalization of these language models, and I would like maybe to ask you from a perspective of people that invest and also try to fundraise maybe in this environment by building something in this space. There is a lot of noise. There are many players. And what, in your opinion, will distinguish between real AI innovation and everyone else?
I'll answer.
Yeah.
As an investor, you don't think about 26. You think about the next 10 or 20 years, 1 or 2 decades. Number one. Number two, I can divide up AI many ways. One way I would divide up is, in the short term, 2 to 5 years, AI is about faster, better, cheaper. AI is about the bottom line. AI is about efficiency. AI is about productivity. AI is about AI taking away human jobs. As an investor, that can give me 5x, 10x return. Not very interesting. In the long term, 5, 10, 15 years, AI is about new use cases. AI is about use cases that humans cannot do or don't want to do. AI is not about automation. AI is about solving problems that humans cannot solve. Think about drug discovery. Think about personalized medicine. This is not about, cutting cost, right? If AI can solve cancer, if AI can solve diabetes, that would be a game changer. Those companies will give us 100x, 1000x more return. So as an investor, that's what separates the long-term investor versus short-term allocation. And the reason there is so much excitement about how AI will change everything is AI has the potential to create new use cases literally in every sector. And by the way, when you think like that, we will create many more jobs than we will lose in the short term, right? The practical challenge is short term, long term, we lose jobs in the short term, create more jobs in the long term. So how do you transition? And we can talk about that and, reskilling, upskilling, whatever. But as an investor, I am most excited about how AI can do things that humans cannot do. And an example I'll end on is autonomous driving. When we think about autonomous driving, we don't think about, can the machine be as good as the human? If the machine is only as good as human, then in the US data, 40,000 people were killed last year because of human error in car accidents. That's like the reported number. Maybe the actual number is much higher. If the machine is as good as the human, 40,000 people will be killed. That's not very interesting. So autonomous is do it by killing 0 people, by having accuracy that no human can match. And that's what makes it exciting. So anyway, that's what turns me on. Every investment I make, if somebody says, I can do it cheaper, I start doing email. But if somebody says, this problem has not been solved, I can solve it, it will take a long time. It's not a 1 or 2 year thing. It's not a 5-year thing. It could take much longer. And that's okay, because that's why VCs exist.
Pankaj, you were ahead of you were ahead of the curve on NVIDIA, on Bitcoin, on many things actually. So I'm really curious if you can spot something that's obvious, like hiding in hindsight in the AI play.
Yeah. So two answers. Boris, you heard my story a little. 2 answers. One, investing is 5% talent, 95% luck. Luck can also be called right time, right place. So you have to be lucky a lot. So anytime I hit 100x, I don't let it go to my head and say, oh, that was a genius. I figured it out before anybody else, right? So it just keeps you humble. But the other answer is for Henrik and Eran. I invested in NVIDIA in 2003, never sold. I bought Bitcoin in 2013, never sold. I was early investor in Grok, Cerebras, in chips, in OpenAI, Anthropic in 2019, 2021. And I'm very pleased with those decisions. I think looking ahead, the puck is moving up the stack. Healthcare has not really changed for umpteen decades. Education has not really changed. Agriculture has not really changed. Construction has not really changed. Mining has not really changed. Financial services has changed. It will get incrementally better. We have been using machine learning in financial services, with the quant phenomena for 20 years. But if you think about different verticals, many of them have not really changed. The penetration of internet, mobile, and cloud, mobile not in the personal context, but in the enterprise context, globally, is about 7 or 8% in the enterprise, 7 or 8%. With AI, everybody is getting excited. Because of AI, internet, mobile, cloud deployment is going up because AI builds on top of that.
Mm.
And the reason McKinsey and BCG and other firms say for a 125 trillion global economy, AI will add 15 to 20 trillion incrementally by 2030, is because if that penetration goes from 7 or 8% to 15%, not 90%, that significantly moves the needle, right? So Boris, if I knew which number the ball will land, I'll only put money on that roulette, right? But what directionally, I'm excited about some of the horizontal layers, and then vertical AI in different segments where AI has the potential to bring a new use case. I'm less excited about like productivity, where the focus is cost, right? Because if it is new use case, it is top line, and that's much more exciting.
Thank you.
I can, take on the take here about investment opportunities. And since, we're working a lot with AI avatars now, I mean, our biggest, cool factor is that these AI avatars can transcend an app. So they can go out, for example, in a metaverse and communicate to stuff for you. They can, we last year I was having a meeting with a robotics company that we can do like a twin protocol where our AI avatar can be put into a humanoid machine, which means that you can have your persona, which is ever evolving and ever trained as an AI avatar, also like synchronized with the machine. So when you're sleeping, you can have your basically digital copy doing stuff for you in the house or on the internet and stuff like that. And I think that will be a revolution where everybody's talking about, how can I clone myself? How can I get 10 more hours? How can I get 8 more arms? That's how you do it. And that's why we're putting every ounce of money and time and research into this, because it will transcend the digital realm, and it's very soon. And we're hoping to be one of the first players in Europe to be part of that evolution. And Pankaj have a lot of good thoughts in general about the future of AI. And I think it's not as much about finding good opportunities in the layer ones. Layer ones like OpenAI, Anthropic, whatever. But like, who are the people who can build on top of that layer two that can solve this mega problem? So I don't care who wins the AI race or AGI race, because I'm working with them. I'm buying their models, whatever the hell, and I'm selling whatever we create at many times higher, because we're solving big problems. And so it's like, which companies can make the most use of the current technology and bring innovations where you can actually serve a lot of people. And I think if I or somebody else can help 10 million, 100 million, a billion people to double their productivity or whatever the hell they're trying to do, we have a business model. And beyond AI avatars, I think we will see a lot of use cases coming up, like Pankaj says, in medicine and whatever field, shipping and stuff, that would just gradually disrupt the whole industry. And I'm very excited about self-organizing systems, AI avatars, and also another model which I'm helping some data centers. We actually have a model where we can build one of the biggest data centers in Scandinavia without a single server. It's like autonomous models that buys compute and whatever from any type of company globally to produce the cheapest cost for just that type of use case. So like, because we're so global, there will always be opportunities if you can provide something cheaper and faster. So data centers, I mean, is also very important. I mean, the infrastructure of AI, which a lot of companies like the US, Saudi Arabia, and whatnot is investing heavily in China, and I think that will be very important because we need to think about the energy and the data centers. Like, how can you produce all this compute and energy that we in the industry need? And like Pankaj says, we're very, very early still. And what happens if the adaptation goes beyond, uh, the current use case? Like if we double, triple, quadruple that, like how can we serve that? So I think you should both look at infrastructure, innovative layer twos, and talk to top entrepreneurs. Like for example, I speak to a lot of people in the industry. We can give you like warm leads, what's trending or who to talk to, because we need to listen. We need to read a lot. We need to go to a lot of conferences just to keep up. Um, so I think a combination of a strong network, looking at infrastructure and cutting edge layer two innovations is key.
Thank you. It's in some ways you overlap with what Pankaj said before, but in some ways you're absolutely deviating from and it's perfectly fine, and it's actually great that you have different approaches. Eran, do you have anything to add on this?
So I think in general, I agree with both, and when Pankaj is saying, the 1000x, I think he said, or 100x. So definitely we're going to see opportunities like that, and I think that the real excitement is about fundamental changes that will come to human lives. For me, to be honest, it's hard to see, right? Because we were all promised no more radiologists and no more doctors 10 years ago, and you could see big traffic jams of radiologists on the way to work. So it's hard for me to say whether these promises will be filled. I definitely hope so, and share that. And I think the biggest promise is probably well-being, and the biggest promise is probably in medical longevity and things like that. The biggest risk, by the way, we didn't talk about this, but the biggest risk of AI is actually accelerating the trend of no social, right? So much social around us, and we don't meet for coffee anymore. So I think that AI is going to take that to the extreme. So not only we can now observe some feed and forget our own life, which what happens to many. But I think that the biggest worry that we might have is that actually people will literally start creating their own imaginary friends in their own image. If social has brought a bubble, right? Everybody find their own people in their own image, and inside our bubble, we can all imagine that everybody thinks like us. We are the majority, right? Even if we're like holding to some extreme or some niche thought. I think AI is gonna make that even worse, which is going to take us. What we could create a bubble of our own. I don't need anyone else in my bubble. All the AI avatars will be around me and they will tell me what I need to hear. And because we have UBI and nobody needs to work, I can now create. Here is the matrix in its full glory. So I think this is it's the biggest risk of AI, right? Social interactions going even worse than they are today. But all in all, I'm optimistic and I agree with both.
So, Iran, I have a slightly different point of view on your last comment. Um, I think there are two scenarios. One scenario is we'll only talk to AI companions and AI assistants and spend more time in front of our PCs and AI and so on and so forth. The other scenario is what the industry is calling the age of abundance. And, again, in the short term, if productivity improves 50%, 100%, you can get the same amount of work done in half the time, right? And then people are talking about 3-day, 4-day kind of work weeks. And, these are people smarter than us, let's say. The Ray Dalios, the Bill Gates, the Elon Musks of the world. In the long run, when AI solves cancer and diabetes and makes all of us safer because of autonomous, and in construction sites, instead of humans going to 100 floor buildings, and in mining, going a mile down, when robots do that, then humans will live longer, and the longevity trend you mentioned, and they will have more time. So the other scenario is, because we'll have more time, we'll be more social. And I agree with you that scenario 1 will not be good. But I also think it's not a given that scenario 1 will happen and scenario 2 will not happen. So I think it's a scenario planning exercise. I happen to think likelihood of scenario 2 happening are much greater than scenario 1, or we might be in a 60-40, 70-30, 80-20 split in the favor of scenario 2. So just something to think about. But I think in that sense, AI is different from mobile. I know we talk about screen time and so on with mobile. I think AI will actually unleash us from screen time. And so we might spend more time in person.
And just talking about that, like, the health benefits, but like also the solution to solve immortality that you can transfer into a synthetic body will happen way faster than we anticipated. Like last year when I was this meeting in LA, we can already do it with a lot of data. If you have a lot of data about yourself, like in kind of like early seed form. So I would estimate in 10 years with an AI avatar protocol and maybe what Elon Musk is doing with Neuralink, like that you could transfer a good portion of your conscience into a synthetic body, and that is a whole new realm that is coming way faster than we're expecting. And what would that mean if we become immortal? And that will happen. I think it will happen within 10, 20 years. I'm hoping to be part of that evolution as well. That's another reason why I'm putting all my faith in AI avatars, because that's one route which we can, already now transfer all 3 of you into a robot if I have enough data. I mean, it will be a simple version of you, but imagine, when we can extract more, how cool it can be to have like 2 more of yourself, or like if you die, you can continue to advise your children and grandchildren. And I'm very passionate about that. So do we really need a human body over time? Yeah, sure. But like there will be definitely the synthetic alternatives.
Guys, before you're tempted to answer this provocative question by Henrik, I see that like we have 8 minutes left and we're opening more and more doors, and they're all very exciting. I think like the discussion of negative side effects of AI, or I don't know, absolutely changing our living form side effects of AI, this deserves a separate discussion for some other time. I had more questions. I would like to wrap it up maybe with just one question that if you could please answer it in a concise way. It's about it's about the present, and it's about what's not understood enough and maybe misunderstood by the broader tech ecosystem. And what do you want maybe the policymakers or the general public to understand better about where the world is taking us?
What I wish is that European Union will invest more in AI infrastructure. We're like falling behind in Europe in many ways, and it's just sad. I know many other countries in Asia are doing better, and the Middle East, and of course the US. But like, I think it's every country needs to invest in infrastructure, invest heavily in energy output, and I think that's step one. I would also give grants to startup that would, solve bigger questions than, that transcends money. That, I know a lot of very intelligent people that are trying to solve problems for humanity, which is amazing, but, it's not a good investment thesis. So if this, global institutions, sovereign wealth funds, institutions like European Union can, form programs like we did with, green tech, but also like to help humanity. I mean, I would love to see more of that. Now we're talking more, maybe to investors. And sorry, what was your general question again?
What's misunderstood by the broader tech ecosystem
About AI?
Yeah, about where we are headed.
We should keep moving. We'll run out of time. I have a hard stop in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe somebody else can take it. Maybe Eran can take that. Yeah.
Mine will be shorter and more simple. Don't wait for AGI, it's not coming.
I think
Okay?
it's definitely coming, but we don't know
No,
in which form.
let's not
Let's not
argue
go there,
here.
but I would say just to refine what I'm saying, right? We need to, as I
Yeah.
said before, we need to define what AGI is, but
Yeah.
machines taking autonomy instead of humans completely is not something that I see like in a complete, I would say, complete human being on all aspects. Very hard for me to see that. A lot of automation, yes, maybe roles will be disappear, but I don't see true intelligence coming anytime soon because machines don't know good from bad. That's only
Not even 50 years from now.
it goes all goes down to a very simple question. Can you tell good from bad? Let's assume that the ideal AI is there. Is that the AI that is ideal in the US is illegal in China? The AI that is ideal in US in 2025 was not acceptable in the US of 2020, and the AI of US in 1960 was illegal in the US of 2025. In other words, we as humans have values, and we decide what's good or bad is. AI cannot decide what good or bad is. Therefore, until AGI can decide what good or bad for us is, and then there is a philosophical discussion, what are we here for if it's decide what's good or bad? And are we good or bad in its opinion? So we decide what's good or bad. Therefore, no AGI that decides for us. And the ideal AGI is in your own image.
You're assuming all humans have the same values. Yeah, but sorry, Pankaj, it's your.
Yeah. So I think what is misunderstood is people see AI as a technology. People think hype cycle. When they think AI, people think the stocks have gone up so much, so they cannot go anymore. All of that is wrong. I think we are maybe at the end of the beginning. We are certainly not beginning of the end. This is a secular trend. It's the past technology trends have lasted 1 decade, maybe two. This is a multi-decade secular trend, and we are barely getting started. So I would close with that.
Thank you guys for coming, for connecting to this discussion. I learned a lot. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that people that will view this will also educate themselves on this matter, and it will be beneficial. Thank you.
And I just want to close with one sentence. I think the most valuable companies on earth, some of the top 10 will be AI related or oriented in some way. That's how I see the trends.
Maybe we'll have another session and we'll continue. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
This video was made for educational purposes. If you found the information in it valuable, please like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you.